Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we have read the middle third of the novella Edgedancer. That's chapters 8 through 14. Give me a second to math what 7 chapters is. We did chapters 8 through 14, wherein Lift tracks Darkness and figures out what he's about, and then kind of tries to get ahead of him. With, I almost said mixed success, but I feel like not much success by the time we get to the end of these chapters. But anyway, we'll get there. I'm Data, and with me this week is
Joe, Jack,
and Jamie.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Watch out because I'm tearing through. The world is turning black and blue. Bursting with color I spin. I'm gliding on a wave of grace. I'm riding, don't you break my pace. Built up a highway to heaven, now I'm breaking it.
Yeah, so 7 more chapters, leaving us, I think we just got 6 to finish out this novella. So we're 2/3 of the way through. What did you guys think of these 7 chapters?
boy, Lift got slightly more annoying and then less annoying throughout these chapters. I'm having a hard time deciding how much or if I like her.
Mm.
I would have to say, at first, when she's following Darkness around and then, she steals his dinner, I'm like, oh God, really? Is that what this all was about? But then when we peel back the layers a little bit later and there's actually, trouble brewing and she's wanting to be involved, trying to actually, maybe not directly get involved, but then when she does kind of make that decision that she should do something and then some action starts to take place, right? Like she starts doing things. It became pretty enjoyable. I did like the later bits that we read this week for that reason, right? And then also we were getting some insight into the major goings on, like, the storms, those ever storms are coming back around. They are hitting landfall. People are like, oh, that Dalinar guy was telling the truth. Okay, what do we do? And so that, to kind of see that from a different perspective, because I would think maybe we're going to see that from once we start Oathbringer, we might see that perspective from Dalinar's side, but to get it from Lift's side is kind of interesting, kind of fun to get that perspective and her working with Gox and stuff. And there was definitely a lot of comedy kind of bits in this part. And I like comedy bits, but some of them didn't land for me. Like, her disguising herself to get into the library or archive or whatever you want to call it. Like some of it just doesn't land for me. So I'm actually enjoying like the more serious bits of the story and how they kind of interact with the larger story that we're reading. But some of the moments in this that are trying to be funny, I'm not into it as much. But I am enjoying it, and I'm excited to get to finish it after this one.
Yeah, the Lift comedy stuff can feel kind of unrelenting, where it's just like everything that she says and does sometimes feels like it's supposed to be comedic, and when she's the main character, it kind of hits hard. I see that at least, but.
Yeah, and it's like Wendell's trying to Wendell's trying to keep us on track almost. Like he's trying to keep the reader on track. He's trying to keep her on track. And it's like she just keeps pushing against him to the point where you're like, okay, now it's getting annoying. Like just listen to him. He's saying some good stuff. But yeah, what are you going to do?
Poor Wendell. He's still a Voidbringer.
Oh yeah.
Just can't get away from it. Oh man. But it does at the same time, like it seems to be setting up for, like you said, at first it seems silly. Like, we really do all of this so she could steal his food? And then it's like, oh, okay, no, there's a more like relatable, like good thing that maybe we're trying to do here. So, okay.
Yeah.
You're willing to give her a little grace.
Right. And it also gave us some good insight into like what's going on internally with Seth, because it still seems like Seth is struggling, because at the end of the section that we read, that we did the live read for, you're kind of like, oh, so he's like all in with this guy. But it seems kind of like from this perspective, he's not. And there's definitely some internal struggle going on with Seth that could be pretty interesting moving forward for sure.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that Seth makes a bit of an appearance here, huh? So yeah, there's something. It's definitely not as smooth as it could have been, I guess.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, this story hasn't really been grabbing me as much as some of the others that we've read. Not that it's a bad story, it's just that however you feel about Lift, because like Joe's right, sometimes her bits, that she does, like they're kind of entertaining, other times they're kind of annoying, and on the whole, it just means she's the main character I'm just not really that interested in at this point. So like, okay, I'm reading your story. All right, come on, let's get on with it. So it's not that it's a bad story, but I'm just, all right, I've seen what Lift has to offer, and I don't find it particularly interesting. So yeah, it's like the story's just not grabbing me as much. I'm enjoying it in the moment, but like, I read these chapters several days ago, and already I'm like, what happened again? Like the only bits that really stood out in my mind were like one of them wasn't even related to Lift because it was, she oversees Nail and Seth and the other two acolytes plotting. I'm like, all right, this is interesting. And maybe that's because it's more tied to the myth arc, or maybe it's just because I find those characters more interesting than Lift. Who knows? But yeah, I do, to touch on what you guys are talking about, I did like seeing Seth again, seeing that he is more conflicted, but also that he's open about it because he never was in the other books. Like his whole thing was like, shut up and take it. So it's interesting that he's speaking his mind.
Right? Yeah, that's very different for him.
Yeah. And granted, he went through some shit in the last book.
Yeah, he died. So yeah, that's some shit.
But even before that, his whole outlook changed before his death, and he was going crazy and smiling. So it was a whole thing. And yeah, the other bit was in the archive, which like again, there's the comedy bit there. I'm like, I don't know if this is really landing for me either. But when she started talking to Gorks and they were providing more information about the rest of the world, I'm like, okay, this is interesting stuff. And again, that's not really to do with Lift, but to the information we're getting about the world. So yeah. Yeah, just on the whole, it's like this is an okay story, but like, would I rush to reread it? Probably not. But then again, we'll see how the ending comes out and see if it sticks the landing.
Yeah, it's interesting because the two times that we've had Lift involved, both times have been like a completely separate story from everything else, basically, where she's off doing her own thing, and one was an interlude that are always pretty much separate or more or less, and then there's this. And it really seems like she might be a better character in kind of small doses within like the larger cast. Like imagine her interacting with like Dalinar or Kaladin or Yasna. Like there could be some interesting interactions there with these other characters we know, but we don't really get any of that at this point.
Yeah, and I think if she would interact with the other characters, like, I'm sorry to bring up Wayne again, but like, my problem with Wayne was he was ostensibly the main character's friend, but kept treating him like crap. I feel like if Lift were to show up with, say, Yasna and to hang around and be her urchin, there probably wouldn't be that illusion that they're best buddies. So like if Lift was being a little shit to Yasna, it might be more entertaining because we'd probably see it from Yasna's point of view, and she'd be this amusing little side character. So I think that could work. I think, yeah, this is probably one of those seeing inside her head and getting her perspective isn't really doing the character any favors. She might be more entertaining as a supporting character who we don't get her viewpoint. Because I am done with her calling Windle a Voidbringer. I was like, I didn't find it funny the first time, and it's just like, all right, this is really starting to grate on me. just listen to the man, for fuck's sake.
Well, and the thing about being in Lift's head to me is it's like we get these like flashes that there's like some deep emotional stuff going on like in Lift's life, but even when we're in her head, she's not. There's no attention given to that. It's mostly the silliness.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, there's clearly some depth to this character that could be interesting, and we're not touching on it yet.
Yeah, and you can make the argument that it's because she's a kid. Those are the things that a kid would focus on. Yes, that's entirely fair. But yeah, I just like, I remember the end of the interlude where like she healed Gorks and was like, oh, like I will remember you. Someone's have to. I'm like, oh man, there is definitely some deeper stuff going on. And we're now 2 episodes deep into this story, and we've only gotten fleeting glances at that depth again. I'm like, I really hope we see more of that in the last section of the story, because that's the Lift I want to see more of.
Sure.
I've had plenty of comedy Lift, stealing people's breakfast and shit now.
Yeah.
If people like that, then I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but it's not really doing anything for me right now. So I'd like to see the other side.
Sure.
Yeah, look, I think my sentiments echo that. I have had a bit of enough of the food thing. I understand that she needs the food to activate the Stormlight and activate her awesomeness and stuff like that. I want to know now why she's like that, and that's the bit that I'm really hoping. We're running out of this novella to tell me that sort of story. So if we're not going to get that story here, I'm hoping I'm willing to hang in there. But I hope we get more of that. Like I guess we're all kind of just waiting for the payoff now. It's like we've read it. Yes, there's more story happening, and she's a small part of a much bigger picture. You know, Seth's shown up. Obviously, we've got Nitin running around, and we need to know what he's up to. And the fact that he made his appearance in the last book as well, and I'm assuming he's going to play a much bigger role in the next novel. I'm waiting for how it all ties together. I think I've spoken about it before, I often fall into this trap with the novellas that I'm expecting something really big to happen because we're so used to reading the novels.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting for this big Sanderlanche. So I've got to pare back my expectations and go, we're not going to get a massive Sanderlanche out of such a short story, but I do want to make sure there's something that comes up that is of value to plug into the bigger story. I really enjoyed the nod to the old magic, and we've gone back to specifically what she's asked for. That's been mentioned twice now in this story, so I'd like to learn more about that in terms of Lift, but I feel like the story is too short to be able to get that information. There was something else that the food thing. So why is she different? Does that tie back into the old magic? But I think I need less about pancakes. I think the ratio of the word pancake for this story is too high. We need to move on from that. So we've still got roughly 7 chapters to go. There could still be some more stuff that's going to happen, but the story on the whole, it's not the greatest story. I hope we just have I hope there's a meaning to it, and we get some sort of payoff in the end that we go, this is really cool, and then plugs back in.
Yeah, if we need something worthwhile to the greater story, but when we get to the end, or by that time, I agree. If it's just another like the interlude that's just a completely separate thing, then although I guess in the interlude we saw like this new emperor take over this major nation on the planet. Presumably that will be relevant to the overall story at some point.
Yeah, and I mean it doesn't have to be like the first thing we pick up in the new book and go, what's Lift up? Because if people were reading the Stormlight Archive, like they just picked it up and gone, I'm going to read that, they probably wouldn't know to stop and read this novella.
Yeah.
Here, but you do, and that's part of our journey through the Cosmere, and that's fine. So I'm not expecting that she's going to come back and just make a huge impact straight away. Like we'd have to be reintroduced to whatever's going on, or whatever's happening in this book is not critical information right now, but may turn out to be later on. Obviously, major characters, Seth is still here, but he's not really done anything so far that's like pivotal to the story. We just know this is where he is and this is where he's up to and where we're sitting in that story, waiting for things to happen. So
that's an interesting point. Yeah, it's like a line that authors I feel like need to walk when you do something like this. When you're going to write a shorter story in the same universe as your big novels, it needs to be separate enough that, like you say, because not everybody's going to know you're following book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of a series, that there's an extra thing that sticks in there between book 2 and 3. Like that's not going to be necessarily common knowledge unless you write at the end of book 2, hey, make sure you go read this other thing before you go to book 3, But at the same time, you want it to be meaningful and relevant enough that it's worth it for the people who do know about it to read it. They're not going to read it and go like, well, what was the point of any of that? It doesn't tie into anything. So it can be a tough like line to walk.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if nothing else, if we never saw Lift again after these books, I think Nin is terrifying. And what he's sort of up to, it sounds like he's trying to eliminate the other orders of the Knights Radiant so that he's only got his, because it doesn't work. Okay, there's a bit of his motivation. We sort of piece that together. I don't think you need the novella to tell us that, but I've enjoyed looking at that piece of it. And the other thing was that they're finding each other. So we know that our core characters obviously found each other, and our Radiants as well. Makes sense that that's happening elsewhere. And I think we've spoken before about, okay, once the Radiants actually are up and going again, who's leading that? Like, we know Dalinar's leading it from our character's perspective, but what about other little clusters of Radiants that might show up? Perhaps this is another cluster. Maybe we know that he's tracking someone else in the city. How many someone else's in the city could also potentially have these powers, and who are we already talking to or know about that's got powers? How do they fall into line? How does it work in the bigger picture? So it does give you a few things to think about.
Yeah, that's true. And that's another interesting, that you point out. Because he does say, like, if you let them go, then they tend to like start to cluster together, which seems like weird. And then you look back and you're like, well, actually, that is how it's happened. Like, Yasna and Shallan kind of find each other. He even makes it sound like Lift's presence in this city, where there's some other nascent Radiant, is like, yeah, you can see they're already starting to like congregate. Of course, she followed him there, so maybe that doesn't quite work.
Yeah, but I mean, Shallan followed Yasna not because of Radiance, but because of other circumstance. So this could just be the circumstance that brings her here.
True. I guess
everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I guess Shallan went to Yasna because she wanted a soulcaster, and the soulcaster turns out to be Yasna's radiant power. So in a weird way, maybe it was I don't know. That's an okay. All right, let's move into. There's a couple of things that I was gonna, but I'm like, we're gonna get to them in the chapter. We'll just go. We started with chapter 8, and these ones don't have titles. They just all have the same. Are they all the same chapter header? Lift's chapter header of just food? I think they are. Yeah, I think everyone is the same one.
Yep, just food. That's what she's about. Food. I think. Where are we on the pancake count? I feel like she's had at least 7 varieties at this point.
Oh, I think at the beginning of this section, we're still at just 1, aren't we? Like, did she have more than that, the Sunday or whatever pancake?
Not
in the first section. Yeah,
but
okay.
By the end of
I think
what
it was
we read
just
today, I think
so
she's at 7.
We're gonna start our count now. We're at 1. Let's see what happens.
Everybody gets 1 Sunday pancake.
They're just gonna put in a ding sound effect every time she has another pancake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ding.
I want to do that, and
Well,
yet
there's like a part that's confusing, right? Because she says that she's having 2 different pancake varieties, but then she says these weren't near as good as the 2 she'd had before. So then I was like, okay, so that's 4 pancakes in like 1 sentence.
A lot of dings there.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I gotta look up
And
all of the adult pancakes.
Are they the 2 pancakes that she had previously that day, or 2 pancakes that she'd had while she was there already stealing pancakes?
Oh, we really opened a can of pancakes on this one.
Yeah, we did. Oh, okay.
Ooh,
so,
canned pancake.
Have you ever had? Yeah, I was about to say, have you ever had pancakes from a can? I don't think I have.
According to this,
One might call them can cakes.
Hey,
Yeah, that's hey,
buddy. According to the wiki, Sunday pancake is different from the Hauka, the tuck cake that you eat for prosperity. She took both of those from the guard, and I said it like they were just 2 names for the same thing, but apparently it's 2 different.
So she's had 2 pancakes.
Yep, we're at 2.
So the count starts at 2.
Okay, glad we sorted that out. So we start out. Remember, we ended last time with her. She was waiting for. I don't want to call him Darkness. This calls him Darkness everywhere. She's waiting for Nail to show up, and he did, and now she's going to follow him. And she trails him through the city. It's more difficult than the other following of people that she's done so far, but especially because this guy is quite dangerous. And he just he seems to know where he's going. It says he never pauses to consider his route or look at anything. He's just straight go. That is until Lift steals some food, a purple fruit, and the shopkeeper's like, hey, stop. And Lift's like, oh, shit. And I love that she's so, like, fluid in this. It reminds me of, like, Aladdin with the apple, that she just hand behind her back, drop, kick fruit away into the crowd so that no one can prove that she had any fruit.
That is smooth.
But it turns out he was yelling at a different girl who stole a whole basket of fruit. So, and,
Definitely more obvious.
yeah, a little bit, right? Do you really need a whole basket of fruit? Maybe she's going to sell it. It just seems weird to me to steal a whole basket from one place. Just because like a basket is going to be unwieldy to run away with, I would think. And the girl chooses the wrong way to run, right towards Nail, who snatches her up out of the crowd. And then she starts freaking out because this guy has a hold of her, and she's like hitting at him, and he won't let her go. And he picks up the basket of fruit, and in one arm holding the thief in the other arm, and goes back over. She gets a piece of fruit out of the basket and throws it at him, and it goes splat, and he doesn't even flinch. This guy's very, very calm, very cold. And then he looked at her, and it says, Lift knew what it was like to meet those cold, glassy eyes. And that makes her freak out, this girl that he's holding. Reaches into her belt, pulls a knife out, and swings it at him. But he just slaps it away. And everyone is now looking on like this is starting to get attention. There's even urchins like betting on how long it'll take Tika there to escape this time. So this sort of thing has happened before, except that Nail doesn't mess around. He summons his shard blade and rams it through her chest.
Pretty vicious, I gotta say, for a kid.
Yeah.
And then his reasoning later is just like, well, if I just cut off her hand, it actually would increase crime. So killing her was the best option. I'm like, I don't know about that.
He drops the corpse and then calmly like gives the shopkeeper a form. He's like, here, give this form to the market watch. They'll dispose of the body and take your statement. Oh, hold on, let me witness the time and date. All right, there we go.
Cool, yeah. Order, gotta have
cold.
order.
So cold.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like staring in horror. The little urchins start crying, and Lift, or rather Nail, like, fills out the form, gives it to the guy, and then just nods and turns to leave. And the shopkeeper's like, what the hell, dude? Tashi above. And Nail goes, Tashi doesn't care much for what you do here. In fact, I'd pray he doesn't reach your city, as I doubt you'd like the consequences. So, okay, wow. Whatever that means. And it's like, well, yeah, and that's for the thief. She would have gone to prison for stealing, but the punishment for assaulting an officer with a bladed weapon is death.
I like it's the shopkeeper, like the wronged party, who's calling him out on this.
Yeah, right? I mean, the shopkeeper probably actually feels kind of guilty. Like, he's the one who yelled out, like, hey, stop, which he has every right to do to try to stop someone from stealing his stuff, but that led to this poor girl getting murdered in the street.
Yeah.
And the shopkeeper's like, that was barbaric. Could you just, like, cut her hand off or something? And he's like, no, I've tried that, where the law allows discretion in punishments, but removing a hand leads to a high rate of recidivism, as the thief is left unable to do most honest work. And like Joe says, he's like, I could end up making crime worse by doing that. So, and then he like looks at the shopkeeper, looks at the dead body, and he seems confused. Like, why is anyone upset about this? I just did what the law says. And then he walks off. And Lift has to wait for him to disappear before she runs up and tries to heal the little girl. But it's too late by that point. And she's like, what? It was longer for Gox. And he's like, yeah, well, but Gox wasn't slain with a shard blade. I think humans don't die instantly most of the time, but a shard blade is different. You might have been able to heal her if you got into her right away, but it was too long. And Lift is real upset about this. And then she steals some of the shopkeeper's fruits and eats them. And goes back to following darkness. And she sees him go into a place, and then she's going to try to figure out how to sneak into it. And like at one point, Wendell's like, Mistress, stay hidden. He has eyes you cannot see. She's like, okay. And she's like, what are you talking about, eyes I can't see? And he's like, he will have a spren like me, probably invisible to anyone but him. And he's like, I don't remember all the rules on this side. And she goes, you sure are dumb some of the time, Voidbringer. And he's like, And then she goes, don't worry, I'm dumb most of the time. So she's not being nice to Wendell, but tries to make him feel slightly better there, I guess. And then he's like, look, I might be dumb, but I know that you're not a match for that guy. There are many words, capital W, you haven't spoken. Of course I haven't said those kind of words. Don't you ever listen to me? I'm a sweet, innocent little girl. I ain't going to talk about bollocks and jiggers and stuff. I'm not crass. Lift. And then I love Wendell's concern. He's like, please don't get yourself killed. It would be traumatic. I think it would take me months and months to get over it.
Shut up, Wendell.
And I love her response. Well, that's faster than I'd get over it. Well, yeah. There you go.
That is a good response of the responses that you could make.
Yeah, very funny when used in moderation.
Right, exactly. We need a little more moderation. Yeah. So she manages to sneak into this building that he's in, using her awesomeness, using Wendell to help her climb, or to help a tree, or like her power to make a tree like grab her and lift her up, which is actually kind of cool. And Wendell's like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. Why don't we just forget all the Skybreaker stuff and go run a farm? A lovely farm. You could sculpt plants every day and eat until you were ready to burst. And mistress? But she's busy sneaking. Let's see. There's a hallway up here with an old man sitting in a chair, wearing a white and black uniform, the same kind that Darkness and his guys wear. Had a beady eyes and a pinched face like a shriveled up fruit that was trying to pass for human. All right. And she sneaks past this guard after he kind of wanders away. She could hear him whistling somewhere alongside the sound of a stream of liquid into a chamber pot. So there you go. And then she finds what she's looking for. She spots a room with a coat hanging on a peg that has a circular stain from a piece of fruit. That's Darkness's jacket, which means that this is his room, which means, yep, there's his food. And Wendell's like, damn it, did we really come all this way just to steal the food? It's like, yeah, of course. She took another bite. That'd show him. So inside Darkness's food are 3 plates of pancakes, which I guess means 3 different kinds of pancakes. Does that put us up to 5 at that point?
Sure, let's go with that.
Ding, ding, ding.
Unless they're all
Ding,
same
ding,
day
ding.
pancakes.
Eh.
More information required.
I
Yep.
think she says in a minute that each of them are different.
I was about to say, we'll get there here in a second. And I like that he's like, of course, we came here to get food. No swinging about of innocent Spren or stabbing them into people, just stealing food. And she's like, Darkness's food? She'd stolen from a palace and the starving emperor of Azir. She had something interesting to try next. I like she's just looking for a challenge in food stealing.
I like that he's just throwing out, like, I mean, and sure, Lip doesn't understand because she doesn't have the context, but he's just going like, oh yeah, like shard blades are just Spren and they're being stabbed into people. And it's like,
Right?
man, he's giving it away for free.
Like, imagine if Syl had made a comment like that. Kaladin would have put it together so fast. And
Oh,
Lip
yeah.
just doesn't even care. So yes, one of the pancakes was salty with chopped up vegetables. So that's definitely a new variety. Another tasted sweet. And the third variety was fluffier, almost without any substance to it, though there was some sauce to dip it in. So yep, 3 new kinds of pancakes. That brings us up to 5 out of 10.
Neat.
So she eats all the food. And he's like, so we really tracked down the most dangerous man we've ever met just so you could steal his breakfast. That's all that we came here to do. And she's like, what, do you want to do something else? Storms? No. I mean, every moment we spend here is dangerous. Let's get out of here. Let's go do that farm that I was talking about. I mean, sure, he's probably tracking someone in the city, someone like us, someone who can't even fight him, and he'll murder them, and that sucks. But yeah, farming, right?
I that's another thing. Like, I don't know what Wendell wants. Like, does Wendell want to farm? Does he want to do his Spren duty? Like, what's going on with Wendell?
Yeah, I'm real unclear on what Wendell wants also. I think maybe Wendell is not sure what Wendell really wants.
He's like, look, I get it. There's this greater calling, and that's why I'm here. But farming, man, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Like, true passion, farming. Second choice was that other guy's Spren, and Lift is down the bottom.
Yeah,
That's true. He'd still rather be that cobbler Spren and make shoes.
They
Yep.
could have just made shoes. That's like gardening shoes. Would have been amazing.
He had a garden of chairs. He could probably do shoes. And so they kind of sit there and look at each other for a second, and she's like, so we should go and spy on him. And Wendell whimpers, but shockingly nods, and that's the end of chapter 8.
He just didn't want to be. He didn't want to be that guy. It's like, oh, at least, like, thank God we only ate the food.
He's trying to do the right thing, maybe. And then we're Wendell becomes the comedy now, where we're given a rambling diatribe of ways that she should try not to die, or maybe try to die. He's like, just don't die too violently, okay? Like a bonk on the head instead of disemboweling, it'll be way better. I hear suffocation is nice, but But if that happens, don't look at me while you die. I'm not sure I could handle that.
That was a bit you suffocate. Yeah, that might be okay, but just don't look at me while you do it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's too much.
Yeah, all these ways that you could die. I mean, that's fine. Just don't look. I don't want to remember it and think about it all the time. That just sounds awful. So just don't do it.
Think about me, okay, when you're dying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
be
In
considerate.
your last moments, yeah, be considerate of me and my feelings.
I don't think you understand how upsetting this would be to me.
He's like, I don't know about falling to death. Seems like it might be messy, but at least there wouldn't be any stabbing, so I guess that's good. And they sneak down the hallway, and there's Darkness wearing a stiff white shirt with two of his underlings in uniforms. One, a Makawaki man with a goofish face, and the other, a woman with a lighter shade of skin. Maybe Reshi, which, if you remember, Lift is Reshi, so...
Yeah. I've noticed a pattern with Lift. She likes to make fun of women, especially, I feel like. Like, she has a lot of nitpicky things to say about women. Fat lips, no nose. She's all over it.
Yeah, because she goes on to say, like, this woman has way too small a nose. Like, she'd sold hers off to buy some new shoes and was using one she dug out of the trash. Yeah, okay. You're not wrong. And Nail is lecturing his followers. These excuses do not befit those who would join our order. If you want to earn the trust of your spren, take the step from initiate to shard bearer. You must dedicate yourselves and prove your worth. And the Reshi woman's like, hey, I stopped an assault in an alleyway. And he's like, yeah, that's fine and everything, but we can't get distracted by petty crimes. We have more important stuff to do. Surge binders. And the guy's like, I mean, shouldn't we want surge binders to come back? And then we won't be the only order of Knights Radiant? And Neil's like, no. I thought that one time, but Ishar made the truth clear to me. If bonds between men and spren are reignited, men will discover greater power. And then without honor here to regulate it, there's a chance the Voidbringers could come back. And we need to do anything to stop the Voidbringers returning. Absolute fidelity to the mission Ishar gave us, the greater law of protecting Roshar is required.
Absolute bang up job you are doing of preventing the Voidbringers there, mate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ishar. Whoever that is.
Yeah, I was about to say, have we heard that name before? I'm trying to remember now. Let me search real quick in the previous two books we've read. And I spelled that I Shat instead of Ishar. Let's fix that.
I think you're going to get a different context for that one, buddy.
Yep. Okay, so all the way back in the prelude, when we see Yezrian and Kalak leaving their swords behind and ending the Oath Pact or whatever, there is a mention of Ishar. Yezrian says, Ishar believes that so long as there is one of us still bound to the Oath Pact, it may be enough. There's a chance we might end the cycle of desolations. So there you go.
So I'm getting confused because, and maybe I just thought this because of something that we talked about earlier, but if this guy's taking his P's and Q's from Ishar, is he not a herald, or is Ishar a more trusted herald than him? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. There's we only know from Seth saying that this guy is a herald, and he didn't debate it or anything, that he is Nail, the herald of justice.
Right.
But
because I'll be honest, I didn't read Ishar from the prelude, but when I was reading this today, I went back and looked for this guy's name, Makabaki skinned crescent shaped face name. Did not see it in the prelude, so I was getting confused. And I know they go by different names. Everybody calls them different names, but I didn't see it.
yeah, they have so many different names that it can be annoying to try to keep track, because it's like not only do they have but it's like different countries name them different stuff, and like worship them in different ways. Some people think that like Yezrian is the Stormfather, is one of the things that we've heard said. So yeah, it can get a little bit confusing. Dang it, I was trying to see if there was any mention in the second book too. Ishar. When Talon sees Shalon use her powers as when she's sneaking around, he goes, one of Ishar's knights. I remember he founded them.
Okay. So that would mean that Ishar, why is he taking his P's and Q's from a herald of the, what is she called again? Storm
Lightweavers?
I am very confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
But also between, Ishar said we should just abandon the Oath Pact, and then Ishar's like, and then Nail says, oh, Ishar says we need to, take down other, people bonded with Spren, and so we can prevent the Voidbringer. It seems like Ishar's fucking everything up for everyone.
Yeah, Dak, you're making a really good point. I think maybe Ishar's been corrupted by odium or something. Like something about this doesn't feel good. Don't feel right.
Yeah.
This Ishar guy, yeah. I'm trying to remember how many names of heralds we know at this point. I don't recall if they're like
Kalek Town,
stated.
Jezreel, and I guess Ishar now.
And Nail.
Yeah, if he is one.
So that's like half of them. 5. Okay.
Well, like they've all got sort of their, like the gas giants in the Rosharan system. Like they all
Or are
seem
they
to
named after the heralds?
Well,
either they're named after the heralds or the heralds are named after them, but they've got the same thing. So you got, I'm just looking at that page now. You got Jez, you got Nan, you got Shash, you got Kak, you got Tanat, you got Ishi.
it's actually that the gas giants are named after the numbers in and the numbers are named after the heralds.
Okay.
Okay.
So like the number 1 is Jess, which is named after Yezrian.
Yeah.
The number 2 is Non, which I guess is named after Nalan.
Yeah.
And then 10 is Ishi, which I guess is Ishar.
He's kind of pulling from real life, right? Because we got Thursday and Friday and all that crap.
Yeah, that tracks.
True.
Plus all the planets are named after the Roman gods.
That's true.
Mars and what have you.
Pluto and Neptune and
okay, but after all of this talk and the Ishar, we have to have absolute fidelity to the mission Ishar gave us. Another voice whispers from the darkness, "You're wrong. You may be a god, but you're still wrong." And Lift's like, "Holy crap, there's a dude there. Like real close to where I'm hiding, and I did not notice him." He sat on the floor, tattered white clothing, his hair short, a brown fuzz as if he'd kept it shaved until recently. So I guess he started to let it grow.
yeah, he doesn't need to be. I mean, I assume the bald thing is part of being truthless. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe it's an Aang thing. He's
Form of atonement.
he's got a sword with a big silvery sheath. His arms draped around the sheath as if it were a child's toy to hug. He's giving Nightblood a nice hug. That's good.
This thing's my only friend now. Talks to me all the time.
I like that it's the sheath is in silver. I'm like, oh yeah, that tracks from Shadows of Silence. Silver stops this shit.
Actually, it's a silvery colored sheath. I believe the Nightblood sheath is actually aluminum.
That tracks.
Yes.
Aluminium also makes things stop. Investitures stop.
Hmm.
Which I assume is just like all one big joke on tinfoil hats stopping like radar signals and shit.
Sure. Dude, what if his sheath was made out of duralumin? Would that like make him even more potent somehow in the sheath?
Oh man, you get like a duralumin sheath. Yeah, there you go. That just like swap out Nightblood's sheath to get different abilities. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. It's like if I put what was the smoking metal?
Copper.
Yeah, put a copper sheath on him. All of a sudden, like nobody can detect us.
Or you put like a steel one on there, and you can like shove other metal.
Yeah, or
That
iron,
would be
pull it
very
towards you.
handy.
Yeah. But also, when you pull Nightblood out of the sheath, like crazy shit happens. So
Right.
switching out would be tricky.
Be like, hey, we're not destroying any evil right now, so chill out. I'm gonna just change your sheath.
Yeah, we're just changing clothes real quick, man. It's okay.
What was there was one of the metals that you could detect other elements, yeah?
Oh, yeah, that was Marsh was a seeker.
Was it bronze?
Bronze. I want to say it's bronze.
I think it was bronze. So if you put Nightblood in a bronze sheath, maybe he can detect the evil.
Mm.
Well, he could probably detect other people with allomantic power or investiture. Probably not evil specific.
I know, but like his whole thing is like, I want to destroy evil. Well, let's make it easier for you to see them.
Here's all
None
the
of this
people with
is just shit I'm
investiture.
making up anyway.
Anyone with investiture is evil. Just get him. It's fine.
Hey, that's why Nail's got him. He's killing people with investiture. There you go.
Yeah.
It all fits, people.
Do you guys think that inside of the metal of Nightblood is like a long blade-shaped brain?
Ooh.
Interesting possibility.
I mean, it doesn't have to be because it's magic, but I just like to think that it is.
I feel like he's like almost more like a spren.
Yeah.
I don't know. The weirdest thing about Seth here, though, is that when he moves, he leaves an after image behind him. She says, like, when you stare at a bright gemstone for too long, it fades away after a moment. But Seth is like, the Voidbringers have already returned. And Nail's like, nope, you're mistaken. The Voidbringers are not back. What you saw on the Shattered Plains, that was just a remnant from millennia ago. They've been hiding among us all this time.
Well, you're wrong.
And when Seth looks up, Lif realizes, holy shit, that's the starving assassin in white. This just got a whole lot more serious.
And also, he looks well fed. I'm really confused.
And Seth says, I saw them return. The new storm, the red eyes. You are wrong, Nin, sun god. You are wrong.
Sun god.
And Nail's like, not a fluke. I contacted Ishar, and he assured me it was just a fluke, man.
And
How'd
this
you
fucking
contact
Ishar
him?
guy.
Yeah, where is he?
I mean, they have span reads. He could,
I guess all the heralds probably know how to read because they're not like sexist and crap.
Yeah, they've been around maybe since before those rules were even created. And Seth's like, okay, but what about the new storm with the red lightning? And Nail's like, it doesn't mean anything. An oddity, to be sure.
Yeah. So, do we ever get surprised by a male knowing how to read in the story?
I don't know.
I guess have we been? So I was just thinking of a good use for the meme where Draco's like, I didn't know you could read.
Taravangian revealed that he could secretly read, I think.
That's true. And he made the diagram, so I guess he can write because he was super smart.
Yeah.
And he's got his people who can read it with him, some of whom are also male.
Yeah.
Also true. And apparently Amaram has turned the Storm Warden script into a written language to try to get around the no writing thing.
Yeah.
So he may not be able to read their normal writing, but he can read something.
Now you got a bunch of people creating their own written script so that they're not actually reading and writing. Don't be confusing it with actual reading and writing.
It doesn't really make any sense because reading and writing is just a form of communication, so they're still doing it.
Oh. Nail's like, the Voidbringers have not returned. Ishar has promised it, and he will not lie. So we must do our duty.
I don't know this Ishar guy yet, but fuck this guy.
Yeah. Ishar's probably just sitting on a giant throne going, no. The Voidbringers are not coming back.
I will show you guys, actually. They sell this licensed jeweler. They sell a pendant, a Vorin pendant with the faces of the 10 heralds on it, and I own that. I haven't worn it recently,
neat.
but you can see this is how the Vorin religion depicts them. At least it's not necessarily how they actually look, but it's cool. It's a pretty large pendant, actually. But you can see Yezrian is the guy with the crown.
Ooh.
I think the guy next to Yezrian, who looks kind of young, is supposed to be Kalak. The bald guy with the huge beard that's upside down in the picture, I think that's Ishar. And then I think the guy with the hood is Nail, and the guy with the helmet or whatever is Town.
Who's the guy on the diagonal right? It looks like he's wearing a crown, or maybe it's a helmet.
Oh no, yeah. To just the diagonal right, the guy with the crown that's Yezrian.
That's Yezrian. So who's the guy at the top then?
That is the top 5 are the women. There's 5 women and 5 men.
Oh, okay. So they divided by gender. Okay.
Yeah, and it's harder for me to make out one of the women from each other, and I'm not even sure that we've heard their names yet. So I guess I might not be able to tell you even if I remembered which one was which. But I feel like the differences stand out less with them than it does with the men.
Yeah, I had a theory about the orphanage lady, but seeing the heralds now, I got a different theory. Maybe she's one of the heralds. That'd be crazy.
Ooh.
Surely not. Then Nail wouldn't be like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
they're catching up on old times. Got any soup?
You like biscuits?
How's Ishar going? Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, he's right here actually. No, he's like, I gotta go.
No, gather the Skybreakers and kick the shit out of the Radiants.
No, the albino parshmen are back. Kill them.
Kill it like the rest.
Just so Nail tells Seth, son Naturu, it's like, you're questioning. That's not good. That's weakness. To question is to accept a descent into inactivity. The minds of men are fragile, their emotions mutable. The only path to honor is to stick to your chosen code. That is the way of the Skybreakers. And so it comes out after this that what they are doing here is what we've pretty much guessed already. They're looking for a Surge Binder. They know that there's a Surge Binder somewhere in the city. It's unclear if Nail knows exactly who it is, and he's given these guys a chance to like prove themselves by figuring it out themselves, or if he doesn't know who it is, and he tells them like, you have this long, and then I will have to take care of it myself. So
Yeah, like, he couldn't help point him in the right direction at least. Like, I feel like, is the test finding the person that's the Surge Binder, and if so, why?
you got to prove that you can do it later. Track down lawbreakers, you know?
Sure.
You gotta recognize who is a Surge Binder.
He's like, I'm the master detective here, so I'm gonna let you try. I already know where the person is. I already know how I'm gonna kill him once I find him. But I'm just gonna let you try, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, this is how you train new cops, I guess. Joe wouldn't understand, but
No.
you gotta like let them work this stuff out themselves so that they learn.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I was an apprentice locksmith for a time, and like, God knows how many times like one of the fully qualified guys was watching over my shoulder, just thinking to themselves, "Oh, you fucked it up," while I was an apprentice, and like knowing that they can step in and fix it, but that I'm not going to learn that way.
Yeah, it's like, damn.
It's like, I would have been done like 20 minutes ago. Can we just come on, man?
It's taking it's like this lock should have taken 20 minutes. It's been an hour.
And then the woman's like, well, wait, you said there's now a second Surge Binder. We can find her. And Nail goes, no, she is mine. You will continue your mission. Find the one who's been hiding here since we arrived. If we don't stop one, others will congregate. They clump together. I have often found them making contact with one another these last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been working at least 5 years at doing this. It sounds like maybe just 5 years he's been working on this. But it's like, if you see one, there's got to be more. They're like roaches, these radiants, you know?
Also, like, what is like the connection? He's saying they may be attracted to one another. Like, and I guess in our experience from reading the other stories, he's kind of right.
Yeah.
'Cause now we've got like 4 or 5 radiants in one group of
Yeah,
people.
Dalinar and Kaladin were like drawn to each other in a weird way.
Yeah,
I kind of don't count Renarin since he's Dalinar's son. Like that.
he was going to be there either way.
Yeah. But yeah, it does kind of seem like he's right in a way, maybe. So yeah, how does that happen? That's a good question.
Yeah. And also, I think Lift brings up the point here in just a minute of just like, wait, he's trying to kill Knights Radiant, but he's like, they're trying to also become Knights? It's confusing.
He tells them, your quarry will make mistakes. They will break the law. The other orders always did consider themselves beyond the reach of the law. Only the Skybreakers ever understood the importance of boundaries.
And so
Why
is
the
that
fuck
the
did he take
thing?
orders from Ishar?
Right, exactly. Like, and is that the thing? Like, he's like, the Skybreakers are the best, so we're the only ones that can be allowed to come back in this era of Radiant. It just doesn't. I don't get his motivations. And again, it comes back to this Ishar person, like Dak just said. Like, why are you taking your cues from Ishar then? If Radiants aren't cool.
The most interesting line for me is he says, your minds cannot be trusted. Even my mind, especially my mind, cannot be trusted.
Yeah. So basically, I'm crazy, but everybody listen to me.
Well, that's
You're talking a big game, mate.
That's why you pick something external to yourself to guide you, because you cannot be trusted.
Yeah.
Don't question me, but don't trust my mind.
But yeah, so how does he know if his mind can't be trusted that he's remembering Ishar's orders correctly? Like, it don't make no sense.
Both of the acolytes here are like, I have a lead. Oh yeah, me too. I'll have information tonight for certain. And he's like, no, just work together. It's not a competition. It's a test to measure competence. I give you until sunset, and after that, I can wait no longer.
It's like, I'll have lead by nightfall. He's like, no, not a lead. This person better be dead or I'm going to do it.
And then Lift goes, bollocks. And Wendell's like, wait, you said you didn't say stuff like that. They've all got him.
I lied.
Except the girl. Though with a face like that, I can't be certain. She really doesn't like women.
That's what I'm saying. And then like later, she has all the insults for the female viziers, like fat lips and stuff. I'm like, dude, come on, calm down.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
And so she starts to leave, and she's like, they're like me. They glow like me. They're awesome like me. What in damnation is going on here? And the assassin in white, was he going to go off and kill Gox? And that's when Wendell's like, did you hear what they call him? Nin? That's a name of Nalan, the Herald. That can't be true. They went away, didn't they? And she's like, man, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Oh, that guy's on a game show that I've been watching. Brian O'Halloran. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it's called The Floor, hosted by Rob Lowe, and I started watching the new season a few weeks ago. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like there's 100 people standing on. They've each got a little area of this floor, and they each have their expert category. And so it's like a trivia duel, basically. And as it was the first episode, as it's going through everybody, like showing one of the expert categories was convenience store items.
Oh
and
my
as it flashed back past that, I was like, wait a second, was that? And I had to rewind. I was like, sure enough, that's Brian O'Halloran. And I'm like 6 episodes into the season, and spoiler, I guess, whoever has owns the most section of the floor at the end of each night wins $20,000. He has won like $100,000 on the show.
Yeah, I listened to the Tell Him Steve Dave podcast, which is like Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson, and then Brian Quinn from Impractical Jokers, and they were talking about how he's on that game show and winning money.
Yep. So that was a surprise, but fun. Sorry. Random.
Also, I mean, I know he's not like a celebrity per se, but he's been in like major motion pictures. He's on a game show trying to make money. Like that's a little weird.
I mean, at one point when he made some money, he's like, I'm a working actor. People think that actors have all this money, but most of us are like, still job to job, just trying to pay our mortgages and stuff.
No, so. Yeah, like I get it, but it's still weird.
And so, I like when Lift says, I don't even know why I'm here. Wendell goes, well, I believe I've been asking that since we shut it, Voidbringer. And we end the chapter with her heading off. Chapter 10. She goes back to the orphanage to get some more food. And the kids are out playing in that open area that's near the orphanage. And they all seem happy. And Wendell's like, hey, I thought you said orphanages were miserable. And she's like, everybody gets happy for a little while when they let you go outside. And the stump gives her second meal. And it's like, what's second? Yeah, you got one last night. I didn't ask for it. Well, you ate it. I mean, it's true. She did.
Yeah, but to be fair, if they had handed her food and she just ran away, like I feel like that would have just been wasteful.
Also true.
But yeah, no, you know what? I think this stump lady witch chick, I think she's the other surge binder in the area.
Oh, really? Why?
Now I know the guard captain was, or the guard lady was doing the same thing, but she's like trading spheres and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
She's running this orphanage, and if she's can soul cast like Yasna and Shalon can, then it's very possible she's just like making food for the kids. But maybe then she wouldn't be so stingy with food. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because later on we see theories about like it's some sort of criminal thing where she's laundering money, but maybe that's a red herring. Okay.
She could be doing both. I mean, it doesn't have to be a complete red herring.
Not mutually exclusive. Fine. Yeah, she's a criminal and also okay. Yeah. They get into a discussion about what Lift wants. Like Lift says, Mom always told me to travel and go places while I'm young. And he's like, Lift, what do you really want? And she says, everything's changing. That's okay. Stuff changes. It's just that I'm not supposed to. I asked not to. She's supposed to give you what you ask. And Wendell says, the Night Watcher? And she nods. It says that she was taller than she'd been when she first sought out the old magic 3 years ago. So it definitely sounds like pretty explicitly she went to the Night Watcher and asked not to change. But it seems equally obvious that that did not work, at least not the way she was expecting it to.
Yeah, it's like a monkey's fist or whatever. It's like she's gotta say like physically, not because I mean mentally, emotionally, she may be staying the same, but maybe not.
I don't want a zombie turkey. I don't want to turn into a sandwich myself. I just want a turkey sandwich.
Turkey's a little dry. Oh, God.
The turkey's a little dry. Oh, my gosh.
Classic Simpsons.
Yeah, it is. The only thing I've ever known how to do was hunt for food, Lift says. It was hard at first feeding herself, but she'd figured out the tricks. She'd gotten good at it. So it sounds like she was on her own at a very young age, and the only thing she ever learned how to do was steal food. And then she runs into that kid who she saw the previous night, his mother leaving him there. And the kid's like, Mother, come back when? He's like, oh, so you can talk. I didn't think you could. Last night you're staring around all dumbly. But he seems like he's not drooling today or anything, so he's it's a good day for him. And he goes, Mother, come back? And Lift's like, yeah, probably not. Sorry, kid. They don't come back. What's your name? And he says, Mick. And he goes, we friends? Nope. You don't want to be my friend. My friends end up as emperors. People pick his nose for him. Yeah, I'm serious. Like, he's got this woman who does his hair, and I peek in, and I see her sticking something up his nose.
To be fair, she's right. That's gross and weird.
It sounds like tweezers for, like, nose hairs or something, maybe. I don't know. But
even so, he's a teenager. How many nose hairs could he
yeah,
have?
that's fair. And Lift's like, yeah, being an emperor is real weird.
You don't want none of that.
And the stump comes back, and she says that this Mick kid, he's faking it. He's not an idiot. He's just pretending. And as she walks away, Mick's like, man, I miss Mother. And Lift's like, yeah, she's nice, huh? Or no, she goes, nice, huh? We get to remember ours. That's more than most like us get. That's, you can see, like, there's these little glimpses of, like, this sad history. But Lift, like, doesn't think about it much. At least not when we're in her head. And then she talks to the old weird guy again. You still creepy, old man? I am the man I was made to be. And she actually asked this guy, she's like, what? Who tells you how to decide what to do with your time? Was it your parents? Was that the secret? The secret to what? To being human. And he goes, yeah, I don't think I know that. At least not better than you. And then he says some other stuff, and she thinks, yep, still creepy. And he goes, your life may pass, but the organism that is this city will continue on, little nose. And she's like, I'm not a nose. I was being cheeky. Nose, cheek, both on the face. That's not what I meant either. And he goes, okay, so what are you then? An ear, maybe? She says, maybe. And he goes, no, not yet, but close. And this conversation is just weird. That's what I'm going to end with there. And
I feel like it's building to, like, there's got to be something there. Like, he's not just this crazy old man. I feel like it's got to come back around, or he's got to be someone, and I don't know if that's just there's got to be something really big that happens. Like, surely he's not just a random, this is the second time we've met this crazy guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be something to his conversation, and I feel like when it happens, it's just going to be yep, makes sense.
On some level, I feel like Brandon may just be dangling some different people in front of us to go, maybe this is the surge binder that's hiding out in the city. Maybe we don't want it to be somebody we've never met. And so I thought Weird Guy might just be that at this point when I read it, but who knows? And chapter 11 starts with Wendell being like, I don't think you understand how this is supposed to work. You don't seem interested in evolving our relationship. Like, you're supposed to say words, and we're supposed to get more powerful. Those Skybreakers, they were trying to do the next step in their training. That's when, they get a shard blade. And Lift's like, there's only one thing I know how to do, and that's steal Darkness's lunch like I came here to do. And he's like, but we already did that. No, not his food, his lunch. Oh, the person he was planning to execute. You're going to take him away. Okay. I smell what you're cooking. Okay, yeah, let's. And then they decide that, like, weird stuff going on, important stuff, that must get written down. People love writing stuff down here. Where would that be? And she has to stop a woman, and she's like, hey, I need some information. Is there a place in this city where people stuff all the things they wrote down to keep them safe? And the woman's like, frowns at her and then points, and right in the middle of the city, there's like this big mound-like bunker, it says, that towers over everything else. And she goes, you mean like the Grand Indicium? And Lift's like, huh, has that always been there? And Wendell goes, yeah, duh. Really? Huh. Which, if you go back and look at the picture at the beginning of the story, there absolutely is a big, like, mound in the middle. And I love that was that entire chapter, is that, like, conversation, basically. And so they go up to the Grand Indicium or whatever it's called. It's a weird, hard thing to say. And Lift has some more inappropriate remarks, which we'll just that wasn't crude, that was poetic. Yeah, okay, sure.
All right.
And Wendell's like, look, can I offer some suggestion here? And she goes, yeah, as long as it doesn't involve sucking someone's soul, Voidbringer. I'm not. Look, that building's the archive. Knowing what I do, there's going to be lots of stuff there. Thousands upon thousands of reports. And she expects Wendell to read all of them. And he's like, yeah, that is not going to happen. There will be hundreds of thousands of reports and ledgers. And to state it explicitly, yes, that is a number more than 10, so you cannot count to it. You may remember that from the earlier story. She can only count as high as the number of fingers she has, which is why she says that she's 10, and any number higher than 10 is unlucky. And she goes, I'm not an idiot. I got toes, too. He's like, ugh. And then he's like, we cannot, I cannot sift through all that information for you. It's impossible, not going to happen. She goes, okay, fine. Maybe I can get you one soul. Like a tax collector, maybe? Would that work? Would you need like 3 of them to make up one normal person's soul? Does it have to be somebody important? Maybe like a dumb guy nobody likes? And he's like, I don't eat souls. I'm not trying to haggle. And so she says, we gotta be smart, devious, think like a Voidbringer. I gotta steal some important looking clothes. And that's the end of that chapter. And so she rocks up to the place wearing like a big Azish coat and robes and stuff, like clearly just too big for her, but very nice nonetheless. And she goes up to talk to the woman, the scribe there, who, yeah, she immediately, like, she's fat. She needs like 3 of those shikwas to cover her. Either that or a shikwa made for a horse. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's just mean. Like, come on. I'd never noticed that until you pointed it out, and now I'm like, and I can't not notice it.
It's pretty incessant.
Yeah. And the lady's like, you are from the palace in his ear. And Lift's like, yeah, friend of the emperor. I call him Gox, but they changed his name to something else, which is okay because Gox is kind of a dumb name. And you don't want your emperor's name to sound dumb. Did you know they have someone who picks his nose for him? And the scribe's like, I believe you're wasting my time. And Lift goes, that's pretty insulting considering how little you people seem to do around here. Which, how about we don't be combative if we're trying to get help? I'm just saying.
I love how Wendell is just like nearby, just going, oh.
That's Wendell's life at this point. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Poor guy. And eventually the woman's like, what unfortunate person did you mug to get that clothing? Like I'd take it off somebody while they were wearing it. Look, just pull out one of them glowing pens and write to the palace.
I've just put it together. This is Zap and Kif, if Zap was a plucky little girl.
Oh my gosh, it kind of is. I mean, she's not as gross as Zap, but yeah.
No, but like the same, just general, can be quite oblivious to the surroundings, and just says shit without realizing what people around her thinks of it.
The thing is, I'm to this day not sure how much of it is what you're saying, like she's completely oblivious, and how much is that she knows exactly what she's doing and does it anyway.
Yeah.
But I like this woman is like, okay, fine. Give me the names of the viziers that you know in the palace, and we'll see what we can do. Well, there's Dalkey. She got a funny nose like a spigot. And Big A, I can't say his real name. It's got these choking sounds in it. And Daddy Sagbutt, he's not really a vizier. They call him a scion, which is different, kind of important. Oh, and Fat Lips. She's in charge of them. She doesn't really have fat lips, but she hates it when I call her that. Which is, of all of the Lift, like, rants, that one is... It's like you're not helping.
It's also like
at all.
These people don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like this is not helpful. It's also not funny. It's just mean.
Yeah.
You want me to write to the palace and ask for Daddy Sagbutt? Cause
that's probably the grossest name of the bunch.
Yeah. Lift is actually the daughter of Wayne and the Condra lady who shouldn't be able to have kids, but somehow had a kid with Wayne.
Oh, Milan?
Yeah.
I could almost see that, actually. Yeah. Although this is before that, so.
Tomato.
But then, there you go, yeah. The woman walks off, and then we hear her outside. Matches the description given by the captain of the immigration watch that we're searching the entire city for. She showed up right here. And also, the captain just happens to be here for debriefing, so we'll get her in here. And so Lift makes her own way over to this wall of span reeds, and she has Wendell tell her which one to use to get to the palace. And then Wendell has to like use vines to write out so she can trace the words that she needs to send. Which I thought Wendell might be a little nicer about what he was sending, but this is Lift. Tell Fat Lips I need her. I'm in trouble. Somebody get Gox if he's not having his nose picked right. And then that's where she cuts off. And the captain's here, who we met before, and the captain's like, hey, watch out, she's slippery. Which, yeah, she is. And they manage to grab her, kind of, more or less. They, like, tackle her, the dogpile her, essentially. And then a scribe's like, Tashi, god of gods and binder of the world. And there's an Ospren, like a ring of blue smoke. And the span reed is riding back. And looks like, yeah, it took them long enough. And then she, like, just slips out and hops up off of the guards and sits in the chair. Get another span reed to the palace. Get 2. We need confirmation. And what is written back? To whom it may concern, it is decreed that I, Prime Akasix Yanagon of the first Emperor of all Makabak, proclaim the young woman known as Lift is to be shown every courtesy and measure of respect. Obey her as you would myself, and bill to the imperial account any charges that might be incurred by her foray into your city. I love that they're like, yeah, we know she's going to screw some stuff up. We'll pay for it. We promise. And then Lift goes, thanks, Gox. That means you guys got to do what I say. And the scribe's like, and what is that? Depends. What were you going to have for lunch today? And we come, chapter 14, our last chapter of the day. Lift is eating pancakes 3 hours later, wearing the spindly scribe's hat, while other scribes run around doing stuff.
This is the Waynish part. She stole the hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's an interesting point. Yep. And she's having a conversation with Gox, or Yanagon, as he is now named. The new storm has hit, just like the Alethi warlord said it would. Red lightning blowing the wrong way. And the scribe goes, yeah, he's right about that. And Lift's like, say it. Your pancakefulness rolls right off the tongue, don't it?
Oh, Lift.
We're having trouble getting straight answers out of people, but the stories about the monsters with the red eyes, it looks like they might be true. And she's like, Voidbringers. Or no, he says, it's happening. Sweet virtue. The desolations have returned. And Gox is like, this is going to be a disaster. Nobody's ready for a storm that blows the wrong direction. And you guys have to remember, like, everything that they've built is designed to withstand these hurricane force winds coming from one direction every couple weeks or however often it is. They are not set up for storms coming the other way.
Yeah, pretty terrifying considering it's going to land in 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, if they'd listened to Dalinar, they could have prepared, but nobody wanted to believe it.
I mean, also, how much preparation can you do? You can't just reconfigure your buildings.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you can get people out of the more, like, in danger buildings, I guess, but...
Yeah, I guess.
And, like, the Gox is like, nobody's ready for this. How did the Alethi even know so much? Did that warlord of theirs summon this somehow? So Lift is chewing a pancake, a dense variety with mashed up paste in the center that was too sticky and salty. So that's number 6 now. The one beside it was covered in little crunchy seeds. Neither were as good as the other 2 varieties she tried over the last few hours. So that's 7. And maybe there's an implication that she tried, when it says the other 2 in the last few hours, maybe she tried 2 others that we didn't see. So that's either 7 or 9. 7 of 9.
Has Brandon described all of the pancakes? Because I'd feel ripped off if it was like, oh, by the way, there was another 2, but I just, didn't describe them.
That's a fair question, actually. Let me see. It looks like...
If it's believed... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm reading down the list. 1 is the Sunday pancake. 1 is the tuck cake that you get prosperity. You got salty with chopped up vegetables. We got sweet. The 5th one is fluffy without much to it. We've seen all those. Dense with matched up paste in the center, covered with crunchy seeds. That's what we've seen. There are descriptions of the other 3, so maybe we get descriptions at some point. I don't remember offhand, honestly. It's been a while since I read this one.
So what I'm waiting for is, now I know a lot of other big fantasy series have eventually had official or unofficial cookbooks associated with them. I know Lord of the Rings had it, and I know A Song of Ice and Fire had it. So when's the Cosmere branded cookbook coming out? With all
That's a good question.
You get all the various kinds of pancakes from this. I guess you probably won't get much from Scadrial because pretty much everything's got to have ash on it. But
Yeah.
maybe
yeah.
Get
maybe
a lot
Malthus.
from Elantris.
And
I mean,
that's free.
Era 2 could have, some foods.
Yeah.
Elantris, we had the pirate chef. He's
Oh,
probably got
we
some
did.
good
Yeah,
recipes.
he made some stuff. That's true.
Yep. There was quite a lot going on there.
A lot of the Roshar stuff is very spicy, though. All their
I'm down.
Yeah.
and,
Hey, Dak,
I want to know how to make chowder.
Do you remember when we made the joke about the pirate chef and then it was a real thing?
That was honestly the best thing about Elantris. We
Yeah,
kept
that was pretty
going.
mind blowing.
So-
Because like when the passage where that got revealed, I took a photo of it, circled it in red on my phone, and sent it to Data, and just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh man, that was good. Good times. Actually, the World Hopper Ball that they did at the convention this year, the first ball, it was since it was a Stormlight book, it was Roshar themed, and they had some Rosharan food at that one. That
So
they
they've
had.
got the recipes. Publish the cookbook, Brandon.
Let me see. There was. I have to look back and see what the options were. There weren't that many food options. There was spicy stew by Rock from Rock's Curry Cauldron. It says, which was shrimp,
Ooh,
crab,
curry
potatoes, scallions, and kimchi.
Yeah, a lot of seafood there. Wonder why.
There was sweet curry, which was sweet potato, heart of palm, and pineapple. And then there was Gancho's Chowder Bar, which had fried flangria with gravy, it says beef kibba meatballs in a curry sauce, shoestring fries, tzatziki, onion, and cucumber.
Oh my god, that sounds awesome.
There was
sound
stagum
good.
fritters with gravy, which it says is mushroom and bulgar kofta in a curry sauce, shoestring fries, tzatziki, onion, and cucumber. So there you go.
Fuck, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I just want
Yeah.
curry now.
Yeah, me too, right?
We can do curry this week.
We actually bought some stuff today at the grocery store to do curry this week, so
Nice.
do a red curry. Anyway, back to our chapter. So the storm's going to hit in 3 or 4 hours where we are currently. And she goes, write this back to Gox. They got good food here. These pancakes with lots of varieties. One has sugar in the center. Oh, there you go. There is number 8, sugar in the center. And the scribe doesn't want to write it. And she's like, write it or I'll make you call me more silly names. She's like, oh, fuck. Lift, this is not the time for idle conversation about food, he writes back. She, yeah, it is. We got to remember, storm's coming, but people will still need to eat the day after that. We got to, that's your job. Make sure that people still have food after the world ends. And he goes, but what about what the Alethi are saying about the Parshmen? What of the Voidbringers they say are in the storms? And Lift goes, I'm working on that part. Hey, all you smart people, what you found? So she has all of these scribes looking through reports from the city for strange stuff, quote. And they're like, what kind of strange stuff? A lot of strange stuff happens in the city. Are we talking about the pig with 2 heads? Or this man who says he saw the shape of Yezir in lichen on his wall? A woman who had a premonition her sister would fall and then she did? And Lift goes, no, that's normal strange. And then, like, well, what's abnormal strange then? And she, like, shows off her glowing powers. And the seeds on the pancake start to grow. And she's like, oh, man, I messed up the pancake. And then Gox writes back, Lift, are you coming back? We miss you. And she goes, even Fat Lips? Vizier Nora misses you too. Lift, this is your home now. You don't need to live on the streets anymore. What am I supposed to do there if I do come back? Anything you want, I promise. And that's the problem. She does not know what she wants. She ends up with, we'll see. And then we find out that she also had them looking into Tashi's Light Orphanage, and they're already investigating her for money laundering. Reports say she takes money from criminals as donations and then transfers it to other groups, taking her own cut. And Lift's like, yeah, I told you. Arrest her and spend all her money on soup. Give me half for telling you where to look. I won't tell nobody. I'll ignore the suggestions of bribery, coercion, extortion, and state embezzlement. But yeah, we're going to take care of them. Don't worry about it. And it looks like eventually they kind of just run out of time. They don't find what they need, and the storm is coming. And Wendell's just like, I guess we pick one. Pick one of the accounts of weird stuff happening and hope we get lucky. But Lift has trouble making decisions. She doesn't want to pick one, especially because if she picks the wrong one, it means that darkness gets to kill an innocent person. And she thinks she hates him. And she's suddenly like, I don't know if I've ever actually hated someone before, but I hate that guy with those cold eyes, no emotion. And even more for the fact that he does all this stuff without feeling any guilt whatsoever. And so the storm's coming and everyone's going to pack up, get to the bunkers. The Parshmen are to be imprisoned or exiled into the storm. Which sucks for the Parshmen, but And Lift's like, wait, what are you guys doing? And they're like, yeah, research has to be put on hold. And so Lift has to kind of just leave because they want her to come to the storm shelter to be safe. And she and Wendell are still trying to figure out what to do. We got to do something. He's going to kill that person tonight, he said. And I like Lift's like, Wendell, you don't even want to be here anyway. You want to be off gardening. And he's like, yeah, I had the most lovely gallery of boots planned. So yeah, he does garden shoes. See, there you go. But I suppose we can't sit around gardening while the world ends. And we finally come up with an idea at the end of the chapter. Somebody knows where to go. That woman talking to Darkness, his apprentice, she said she had an investigation going. Sounded confident. And Wendell's like, yeah, you don't suppose her investigation involved a bunch of scribes searching through records, do you? I mean, that would be the smart thing to do. Even we came up with that. And Lift's like, aha, and then she knows where to run. And that's the end of our chapter. So we have 6 chapters left in this short story, and then on to Oathbringer. Predicaments. What do you guys think is going to happen? Where are we going? What's up?
I don't know. I assume she's going to find a lead in the library that's going to lead her to the person that they're after. I will say I don't think she's going to be able to save that person, but maybe she'll learn something from that person that's going to lead her to take her life responsibilities a little more seriously. That's what I would hope for Lift at the end of this little short story, is that maybe she's going to take life a little bit more seriously. I do think that she'll say some more words before the end of this. Maybe get a shard blade. That'd be pretty cool. I think that's definitely a possibility for her at the end of this. And she'll escape from darkness, from our friend, our darkness friend, or anti-friend, whatever you want to call that.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, she'll escape from him, and then I don't know what they're gonna do about the storm. That part is I'm really unsure. Like, what's going to happen during the storm? How's it going to affect them? How's it going to affect the rest of the story? Definitely not sure. But yeah, those are just some small things that I could predict. Not a lot of great insight into what's going to happen. I feel like we're kind of just taking the ride with these novellas. So I'm just ready to read the rest.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we would kind of hope that Lift manages to get away from darkness. Almost, you guys are kind of leaning maybe towards we don't like Lift that much, so maybe we hope the other way around. But we don't like.
Well, I don't think any of us
wish. So
I don't think any of us wish death on the poor girl, but
that would be sad.
Yeah, especially for Wendell's sake. He doesn't want to see that.
Maybe it'll be a peaceful one. No stabbing. We don't want the stabbing. But yeah, that's fair. We'll find out soon, I guess.
I don't think it's that we dislike Lift. I think it's just like, as a perspective character, she's kind of just worn out her welcome a bit. I'd be happy to see her as a supporting or something, maybe. But anyway, predictions. Yeah, like I think she's going to fail to save whoever Nail is after. Maybe that'll finally give her the resolve to start doing something with her life, whatever that might be. I don't know. Shadow Empress of Azir or something. I don't know. But I do think what I think is going to happen is she is going to catch up with Nail and Nail's target. Nail's going to kill the target and come for her, just saying, like, you see, this is why we need to do this, blah, blah, blah. He'll just give his, like, a nice little motive rant. But he'll do it as the Everstorm hits and they see the Parshmen turning into the Voidbringers, and Lift will just start taunting him. It's like, see, you were wrong. You were wrong about everything you said. The storm does cause the Voidbringers. They are back. The assassin in white was right. And Nail's like, fucking what? You heard all that? And then Nail's and then Lift will get away, and Nail's gonna be like, wait, have I fucked up? Is the girl right? Have we fucked this all up? So I think that would be a nice little cap. Like, Lift gets a bit more perspective on what she's doing, and maybe Nail's thought process gets a little more shaken. His faith gets a bit undermined. Doesn't have to be anything massive, because I think Nail will have a big part as an antagonist moving forward. But we could see, maybe his sureness, his certainty in what he's doing just starts to waver a bit.
That could be very interesting. And I mean, you make a good point, at least in the timing of when Nail is supposed to go out and kill this person does seem to like it's going to coincide with the Everstorm. So got to be some relevance to this overlap of the two. We're going to see something there, right? So I like this idea. This is interesting.
I think that we're obviously going to have a confrontation with Nail. I've been thinking about her wish to not change, because that's been brought up a couple of times now, and now has been explicitly referred to as like the old magic and the Night Watcher and all that sort of stuff. And so she wants to not change. So I think a thought that popped into my head that might be cool is maybe she had this confrontation with Nail. Maybe he tries to kill her, because we've also had a lot of talk about dying and how she dies, and Wendell doesn't want to watch it. But we also know there's something a little bit more special about her abilities and the fact that she can physically interact with her spren. So there's something different going on there. My thought was maybe the Night Watcher thought there's something else about her that shouldn't change. And maybe that's like her state of being. And he would try and kill her, but actually can't. So yes, she's getting older and she's changing, but maybe her soul like can't be severed by a shard blade or something like that, because she's got a stronger hold with the spren. I don't know what that would do for our story, but I think something like that would be really cool to see. That would spin darkness out a little bit. I think it was like that. What? How does that even happen? And then maybe there's a useful place for her. The fact if she can't die and she's looking for a place. I can't see Lift going with Nail willingly. She really, really hates the guy, which is fair. He's not good, in my opinion. But I think I'd like to see something like a little bit more stunning, I think, than just she gets away. But like there's something special about her that we just don't understand yet. And maybe if we never see her again, maybe there are other characters who pop up with a similar kind of ability to interact with their spren physically beyond a shard blade. The other thing I thought is if she spoke the words, she actually wouldn't transform into a radiant, which could be different, but I don't know what advantage that would have. Or
yeah, that seems like a disadvantage for sure.
It seems like that sucks. And why would they push Wendell to go with someone that couldn't transform in the same way? I also would really just like to see her acknowledge that Wendell's not a void bringer. That'd be nice.
I think Dak is on your side with that one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm also going to go with, I think that our other person that has abilities is possibly the captain of the guard.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned it last week. I like her for it. The fact that she showed up again makes me think that maybe she's around for a reason. Yeah.
Okay.
Really, that's it. That's my only gut feeling.
I meant to ask all
I like
three
Joe's
of
thoughts,
you
though.
about who you thought was if it was somebody that we'd met, and you and Joe did. Dak, did you mention that and I missed it, or do you have a theory about who the Radiant is?
No, I had no theory. I had no thoughts.
Okay. But Jamie, I really like that you took a direction nobody else did, where we talked about maybe it was like a monkey's paw thing where she asked for this but got it in a different way. And you're like, if she got her wish in a different way, what does that mean? What does that look like? And so the theory that like her soul can't be severed by a shard blade, that is actually really cool. Does that mean would that mean that she's like immortal or something? Or is it just specifically with shard blades, or what are you thinking?
I think I like the idea that she would be immortal. Like I like that, but I don't know that would be a thing. I thought that it would be one of my original thoughts was that maybe she was aging a lot slower. Like for her, she's requested to be like never change because it was easier for her to be able to survive on the streets as a younger child without having to grow up and get a job and stuff like that. She could just steal what she needed to steal. So maybe she'd been around for a really long time and that maybe her bond with Wendell was so strong because he'd been with her for so long. But he's made comments about his memory not being right and all that sort of stuff. So there could be a couple of directions there of his memory's not right, but he's also not changing because he and she are linked and they have been around for a really, really long time and their bond is just the way it is because they've been around for so long. But the more I thought about that, I thought that's not really the way that would go. And then, yeah, so if she couldn't change in another capacity, yeah, I feel like something would have to be able to take her down at some point. But yeah, I mean, if a shard blade can't take you out, what can?
Yeah. Maybe Nightblood, and he happens to be right there. But Lift's not evil, so
Yeah. Well, we don't think she's evil.
yeah. She doesn't seem that particularly evil. She's not
No,
a nice person necessarily, but that's not the same.
no,
as
but not evil. Not evil.
Okay, yeah, that's some interesting thoughts there. Okay. All right, we'll do some emails. We've got some new patrons, and I think we've got at least one review this time. So Joe, you can get your lists ready to go for that. All right, the first email we have is from Amber, and Amber says, I have just started rereading Sanderson's works, and I absolutely love your podcast. I'm so happy that I stumbled over this on Spotify. I was searching for some good music to listen to while reading Mistborn, but instead I found this. Probably like one of the luckiest days of my life. Well, besides the day I stumbled over Mistborn books and got introduced to the best author that I know of. I decided to reread all of Sanderson's books when Wind and Truth appeared, because I started reading Wind and Truth and realized that I didn't actually fully get what was going on and why. The plan was to start by the Stormlight Archives, and then I remembered Kelsier and was like, oh my gosh, I need to read about him. He's so cool. I try not to think about him dying because it's one of the most painful parts. I love this idea that you start in on, like, you're going to read Way of Kings again, and then you start off and you're like, but wait a second, Kelsier's not in here, and Kelsier's awesome. I got to read him. All right. That's how I am here reading 2 chapters of Mistborn and listening to one of your episodes. It was really good / nice to listen to you guys, and Jamie, of course, even though I think I remember you mentioning that saying guys is fine for all of you. Talking about books, I can't really talk about with any of... to anyone about any of Sanderson's books. One of my friends is dyslexic, and well, she has understandably a bit of a problem with books. I also can't give her the podcast to help since I live in Switzerland and she can't speak English enough. My other friend is just hopeless. She refused to even start reading any of them because they aren't just one big horrible love triangle massacre. I mean, it's true. Bran is not big on there's not all that much romance in most of these books.
Yeah. Is that like a thing people desire out of their novels, love triangle romances?
Oh, I think absolutely for some people, yeah.
Oh yeah, like romance genre and like romance fantasy are huge these days.
Yeah, no, I get that, like romance fantasy, but like a fantasy has to have romance in it. I mean, it's salt with water in it, if that's what you mean. I mean, do we need the romance?
I mean, yeah, some people, that's their main reason.
Look, I get it when it's applicable, right? So like the Vin Elend thing, it was pretty applicable. It was kind of at first, but then then it started to make sense, right?
And had that really weird Zane. Break through the middle.
Like, interlude.
Yeah, tried for a little bit of a triangle.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, gross, like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. It was gross on several levels. One of them being like, "Hey, you're really into my brother. Be into me." Like that in and of itself was gross. But then you had to add in all the weird Zanisms that made it worse.
Yeah, he was a weird dude.
You know, he had ruin in his ear all the time. It'd mess you up.
Okay, I'm sorry. The email finishes. So it's just incredibly nice to finally be able to, well, not talk, but listen to other people talk about the books. It helps me order the thoughts in my brain. I also very much love the theorizing of what will happen by the newbies. In any case, I'm excited to listen further to your podcast and can't wait till I'm on the status quo. Really a lot of appreciation to all of you guys, from Amber. So thank you, Amber, from Switzerland.
Thanks, Amber.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And the next one comes from James, and the title is Kaladin and Black Widow. Hey all, love the pod. I've rereading along with you guys, and when we got to the part where Kaladin lands like Iron Man, I'm reminded of the Black Widow movie and how Yelena calls Natasha a poser because of how she lands with a superhero pose. Also, I imagine Teft or Lopin as Yelena here. Later, he gives his Bane...
Like a Lopin thing, yeah.
I can see that, yeah. Later, he gives his Bane speech. No, the wind is mine. The sky is mine. They have been mine since childhood. You are the trespasser here, not me.
No, the sky is. Hold on, I gotta cut my. You
think the winds are your ally? You merely adopted the winds.
You think the winds are your ally? You merely adopted the winds.
I was born in them, molded by them. I was a man before I ever saw a still day, and by then it was nothing to me but boring.
There you go, James. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, somebody
Some
requested.
Bane.
Somebody last week said something about Bane, or the week before. So there you go, some more Bane for you.
He says, I have to admire his aura farming. Kaladin has always been my favorite character, and it makes me chuckle when he's overly dramatic. And
I've
that's
heard
James's.
that phrase before. I have no idea what that means.
I was just thinking the same thing. Hold on, we're going to Google this now.
You're gonna have to Google that because what the hell are they talking about?
Aura farming is a slang term often used in a derogatory way to refer to someone intentionally doing something to appear cooler or more impressive.
So me and my everyday life, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like me on a regular basis.
Joe's always
Yeah.
posing. It's basically
It's basically all I do. I should have been a model because all I do is pose.
what was the movie with Ben Stiller as a model?
Zoolander.
Zoolander. Yeah, Joe's life is Zoolander.
Yeah,
Obviously.
100%. Except I would argue that I'm slightly more intelligent.
What is this? A school for ants?
Needs to be at least
What?
10 times this size.
But why male
Absolutely
models?
right.
I just told you that like 10 minutes ago.
I love David Duchovny's cameo in that. So good.
It was brilliant.
Let's do. We got a bunch more emails, but let's do one more today. This one is from Ryan, and it's titled "Emotional Moments." Hello, Data, Jamie, Dak, and Joe. I hope you're enjoying the Stormlight Archive. I've listened to your coverage of all of the Cosmere so far, and have to congratulate you on an excellent podcast, and Dak and Jamie on their new baby. I hope everything is going well.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you guys if you had any big emotional moments in the Cosmere so far. As you hit the end of Words of Radiance, I admit that these days I get teary-eyed every time I read the scene of Dalinar's acceptance of his fate when Seth comes for him on the Shattered Plains, and Adolin watching the Blackthorn move as he's never seen him before. I don't know why it hits me harder now than it did when I was younger. Perhaps it is fatherhood now that my daughter is about to turn 4.
I think maybe several somebodies have asked us similar questions. My brain usually goes back to the Vin and Ellen to death. That's pretty emotional. And also I had a pretty visceral dislike of that ending. And so I think that emotionally was probably one of the biggest events in the Cosmere. The thing that gets me a lot of times though are small moments, and they don't even have to be extremely climactic, but they are very poignant. And there's lots of little small emotionally charged dialogue that kind of hits me hard for maybe a couple of seconds, and I'm like, oof, whoa, that one got me. And then I kind of move on. So I can't think of anything particular, but probably the largest moment I would say is the Vin Elend death.
Well, when people talk about this, they normally mean emotionally really sad, specifically sad, heartbreak, sadness, that kind of emotional reaction. Because I do remember Sazed finding Tindwill's body was pretty hard in that regard.
Yeah, that was going to be where I went. And that moment, yes, but then the aftermath of that still really, I think, tug at the emotional strings.
Yeah. And Wax, when he realizes he's had to kill Lessie a second time, was also pretty rough. Yeah, if you're talking about those specific sadness moments, those two stick out. And for a little moment in Sixth of the Dusk, when he's trying to explain he's figured out I can't remember his friend's name, but he figured out that they were finding the stuff from the other worlds, and that was meant to be a trap to try. I was much like Sixth himself. I'm struggling to find the words.
Vathi was her name, Vathi, by the way.
Yeah, but when he was trying to explain he'd figured it out and he just couldn't find the words to do it, that hit pretty hard. That was a smaller moment, but when people talk about having those emotional reactions, that's normally the sort of thing people are talking about, those heartbreak moments. Whereas I tend to have just as many, very emotional, but from the other perspective, where you just start cheering. It's yes, fuck yes, they did it. When Dalinar and Adolin think they're about to die and they see the bridge has come back for them. And they're just oh shit, let's go. We're not going to die today. That was a good one. When Dalinar gave up his shard blade to save all the bridgemen, that was a big one as well. It's oh shit, that was huge. So I think I have more of those reactions than the heartbreak. reading the Cosmere so far, because there have been plenty of those throughout these books. Just those fuck yeah, things are going to be okay moments.
Yeah, some of the really positive emotional moments can be like, I was thinking, and the first time I read Words of Radiance, it didn't hit me as hard as it does on rereads, but the really popular moment among the fans when Kaladin's like, Honor's dead, but I'll see what I can do. And then he's like, if this doesn't go well, take care of my men, and jumps in there. And it's just like, wow, that's like, it's just so like incredible that it's a really positive, but at the same time, like, oh shit, he might die. So I don't even know how to frame that one.
No, that's a good one. It's just, those moments where it's like a single line of dialogue, you just feel your heart stop for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Whether it's fear or joy or sadness or various other inside-out characters.
And for me, I think what Joe called out has always been one that hits hard for me, because I love Vin. She's one of my favorites, and so when she's dead at the end, that's sad. But at the same time, I feel like Brandon has improved so much as an author that some of those like gut punch moments in Era 2, even though it's like it's a less dramatic story, it's much more character focused. And so like Dax mention of when he realizes what's happened after he has to kill Lessie a second time, like that hits hard. I think, spoiler for the end of that, this is the one that people get upset about, I think Wayne's death, it's written really well to like make that emotional connection. Even and Wayne's kind of like upbeat about the whole thing, but it's still like, I feel like Brandon's gotten so much better over the years that he's writing that emotional connection even better than back then.
Yeah.
So that's
actually, sorry, last one I'll mention. End of Alloy of Law, one that caught us all when, mental blank, Wax's wife, who we all love. Steris, yes. Sorry, don't know what happened there. Like when she just collapsed and explained that she knows people don't think of her very well, and she knows she doesn't like that was a small moment, but holy crap, it broke my heart.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'd kind of forgotten that until you mentioned it, but that definitely got all of us when it happened.
Yeah.
Okay, the email ends with specifically a side question for Jamie. I remember you saying in the beginning you're not a big fantasy reader, and Sanderson's definitely not representative of all fantasy, but have you enjoyed the new genre, and might you branch out into other fantasy books in the future? Thank you all, from Ryan.
Yes, I have very much enjoyed it. Yes, I will be branching out. No, I have not branched out yet. Been a little bit busy. It's definitely something that I would like to read more. Dak's a big fan of the Dresden Files, so I think that's probably going to be the first series that I tackle, mostly for convenience because it's already in my home. Yes, so I guess as I start them, I can let people know, but I'm not sure how long it'll take me to get there.
That's awesome. There's another series we talked about way back at the beginning of the episode, that how this writing short stories is like a line to walk. That was one of the ones that I was thinking of, because Jim Butcher has written so many short stories in the Dresden Files world, and it's like, I think he does a good job for the most part of writing them, incorporating them in such a way where it's like every once in a while something happens in the main books, and if you've read that short story, you're like, oh, I get what's going on there, but it's not such a big thing that you're confused if you didn't read that story. So he's a guy who I think does that well. Thank you, everyone, for sending emails. We appreciate you. If you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky and Patreon, where I'm still reading and posting my first read through of Wind and Truth, and we've got a few new patrons who joined this week. So let's see, or at least a couple. Let me see. Oh yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got like 6 more. Been a busy week. Stuart 94 is the next one. Maybe Stuart born in 94.
Yeah, Stuart 94. You are a connector. You store duralumin.
Nice.
Duralumin. Duraluminium.
Then we have also at the Ska level Altrez, Altrez.
Altrez, a wind whisper, storing that tin, those nice senses.
That's a very variable, you can do a lot of stuff with that. Let's see. Next at Ska level is James.
James, you're a spinner. You store fortune. I think that's probably one of the ones I would want the most.
Yeah, I feel like I want to see exactly how that works. I don't think we've seen that in the books at all.
That's
but
true,
It has
because
potential to be very interesting.
It's got potential to be very positive on one side, but if you're storing and you have to have bad luck,
Like really
that
bad
part,
luck, like
yeah,
lightning
I don't
strikes
know.
all the time. You're gonna have to walk around with a lightning rod.
Yeah, that doesn't sound as good.
It's like it'd be like Domino from the comics, except to yourself.
Yeah.
The next one, also at the Scott level, is Sorokinon. I think maybe there's a person named Sarah who's turned their name into Sorokinon. I don't know how to say that.
Sorokinon, you're a sentry. You store wakefulness.
You can. I don't know how useful. Maybe like in college, I feel like that could be really useful.
Yeah, or if you work nights or something.
Yeah. Next is Logan.
Logan, you are a pinnacle. You store determination, electrum.
Ooh, nice. And then finally, also at the Scott level, is creating a library.
Creating a library. You are a true self. You store identity, aluminum.
Another one that I don't think we've really seen and much use of yet.
No.
So potentially interesting. So thank you all, our new patrons. You guys are very cool. I hope you're enjoying what is mostly me rambling on the Patreon. So and have fun with that. I'm sure you don't get enough of it here. But if you guys want to hear my first responses to our reactions as I'm reading new Sanderson books, you can check out our Patreon. That is most of what's on there. There's a few other things. The live read has now come out for the public, but that was on there. And a couple other things here and there. For next time, we will be finishing Edgedancer. I can't believe it took me so long to remember what we were doing. For next time, we'll be finishing Edgedancer. That's 6 more chapters, which will take us through chapter 20, 15 through 20. And then we're done. Donezo. We'll be moving from there on to Oathbringer, which I have narrowed down to a couple of songs for that, but I still need to pick the song for that one. So it wasn't until the edit this week that I picked the song for this one, which I let the I cut 2 different songs, and then I still couldn't quite decide. And so I was like, you know what? I let the Patreon help last time. Discord folks, what do you guys think? Here are the 2 songs. I feel like one was more like emotionally appropriate for the theme of this short story, and one was just more fun. Which one do you guys think? And they went with the one that I thought was more fun, which you guys will have heard now. The song for Edgedancer is Messin' with the Best, which is the Bayonetta song that Miracle of Sound did. So it is a fun song. I'll give it that.
Yeah. A large fan base for Bayonetta. I never played it.
I never played it either. But yes, it was fairly popular, I feel like, at the time. I saw a lot of commercials for it. Maybe that is not representative. Don't know if I saw that many people doing streams of it, but maybe it just not. I wasn't in that place.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a Capcom, right?
Hold on.
I feel like the Capcom people are very like into Capcom characters.
Bayonetta. I know they put her in. Was it? Is it Smash Brothers? They put her in one of those fighting games.
Maybe.
The developer was Platinum Games, published by Sega and Nintendo.
Oh, okay. So not Capcom.
No, what's Platinum Games done? I'm just trying to. I've heard that one before. Mad World, Infinite Space, Bayonetta, and Vanquish. All right, if you say so. The studio worked on creating new installment in other studios franchises such as Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, really, and Star Fox Zero.
Yeah.
All right. Anywho, moving on. So thank you guys for joining the Patreon. Thank you guys for emailing. Thank you everybody who just shows up and listens every week. We appreciate you. Remember, that is 6 more chapters for next time, wrapping up Edgedancer if you're following along with us. And then if you don't have it, go out and grab Oathbringer because that is up next. So read those for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo? P.S. Fasher. Cravath
Time to put your metal to the test now. Hey, don't you know you're messing with the best now?
Did my Joe sound aggressive? I think I need to redo it.
I think you sounded okay, but you can redo it if you want. I'll pick whichever one sounds better in the edit.
I was just kidding.
Uh-huh.
But I'll do it again. 3,
Think of
2.
you are very sensual.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Joe. Now sensual. 3, 2, 1. Joe.
We're gonna use that one. That's the best.
That's gonna be really weird out of context.
Yeah, like Dak and Jamie just go on do their names with no like
Start comment on it.
response. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody will just be like, "What was
You
up
can
with
also
that?"
have it's Joe.
Yeah. And Joe, maybe? I don't know. That'd be people would be like, "What was up with Joe in that episode? He said his name all weird. It was like sensual."
You know, he's a weird dude. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, he's a weird guy. I don't know.
Well, this went directions very early.
Yeah, right.
Well, too bad none of it's gonna be on the record.
No, all that goes in after the ending song now. That'll be great.